welcome back to the Real Deal Dubai Modern Living podcast.
Once again.
Today I have Salvador. At the last podcast we sat together and talked about many things, launches, also a lot of your private stories.
A little bit, yeah.
So today's topics are how to start as a real estate agent, a bit of your private stories, how is your experience, why you choose modern living in general, why you choose to come to Dubai and the whole real estate industry, and how do you find it the last 3 months?
Yeah, listen, I'm excited to get into that. I think the timing is right. It's all very ripe in my memory. I just hope to be in this industry long enough and prosperously, most important, in a few years we can look back at this podcast that we're recording right now.
Oh, that would be crazy.
And see how things turned out.
Yeah.
Do a little Where Are They Now series. But yeah, and I'm sure, I mean, you've been here a little bit longer. You have quite a few stories to share as well.
Yeah, sure. We can go into that. Let's start with the straight at the beginning. I remember when we both had the interview and we talked about the topics and everything, and then we started talking about like areas and selling and this and this. And I remember exactly you had this smile on your face like right now, and where you've been so excited just to start to go into it. Like what drove you into the real estate market? Yeah,
so well, a couple of things did. I think, you know, it's a journey I was on. I went to university in the United States, originally from Portugal, and I did a degree in marketing. And at that point in my life, my whole career project was still very conventional. You know, go to university, get a degree, go work a corporate job. Yeah. Because, you know, in my head, I just knew that I wanted to be successful. And for me, I wanted the prestige, I wanted the validation. So going work at a company, in my mind, you know, it's like, you know, you work for 5 years, you're going to be CEO, you know, when you're starting out. But obviously, you know, I learned that wasn't the case. I worked in the tech space right out of college, did that first in marketing, then did that for a period, transitioning to sales. And I think the way I started shifting to this realization that if I wanted the kind of wealth I wanted, I had to do something a bit more unconventional, started shaping with my professional experience as that came along. I think I realized after 2 years working in the tech space, or more than 2 years, 3 years really, and not working at the next Google yet, that I realized that it's very hard to fulfill an objective that is, you know, success-centered very quickly, working a job, no matter what the company might be. And so one of the first transitions I made that took me in that direction was realizing the optionality you get with commission. And so the sort of velocity that gives you, the scalability of revenues, even at an early stage in your career. And that was when I made the shift to sales, which is sort of like step one on the journey that brought me into real estate. I was working for a startup in Silicon Valley remotely. I was living in France at the time, and I realized that, you know, just by working in a commission-based job, I was, as long as I met my targets, I could beat most of my peers my age starting out their professional life by a wide margin. And so obviously I came out of the company with that realization. I didn't stay very long because the tech space had a major downturn and my whole team got laid off. But I was really happy because those 4 months were so worth it just for that realization. That being said, I think it's very easy to see it as realization with hindsight, but the truth is, when I got laid off, I didn't know that I even wanted to stay in sales. So I took, people might be interested, especially people who end up like being out of employment for a long time. I was actually, I think, well over 6 months before I started my next job. I spent a lot of time thinking that still on that path to chase prestige. And so I had it in my mind, especially at the time I'd been out of the house, out of the country, out of Portugal for almost 10 years at that point, because I was 24. I left home when I was 15. I thought I wanted to go back and I wanted to chase prestige, because if you want to chase money in Portugal as a salary earner especially, you can forget about it. And so I applied to management consulting firms, which I had a reference of my peers who were working there. It's very aspirational, it's very prestigious. whether it's as glamorous on the day-to-day is very debatable, but I thought it was the right challenge for me at the time. And so I applied. I made it to the final rounds at some of these firms, some of these very prestigious firms. And I realized, just from the interview process that, once you see how the sausages are made, you're not so sure you want to be part of it. And I was really frustrated about how, for something that I thought was very challenging and inspirational and nuanced and strategic, that they could just disqualify you on a bunch of technicalities, and by the same token, with another hand, be giving unfair leg ups to people who had a lot of connections. And so I think that was what brought me back into sales, realizing how what a fallacy, what an illusion this whole career path, professional job, salary thing is. And so I was going through a lot of personal stuff at the time, and so I think I really broadened what kind of options I was open to. And I had friends in Dubai, and I had a neighbor actually whose daughter had just gotten into the Emirates program in the UAE to become a stewardess. And this is a neighbor I'm very close friends with, and he was saying, hey man, listen, I was watching, this is no joke by the way, I was watching this reality show about a real estate agent who made a ton of money in Dubai. This woman was she didn't sell a house for 4 months. She was about to pack her things and go. Excuse me. And suddenly she made her big sale, bulk buyer, bought 10 units, and she made back 4 months of deferred earnings and then change from that one sale. And I was thinking, I don't typically base my decisions off of reality shows, but it made me realize that the beautiful thing about, and the truth at the end, real reality show aside, was that it's an industry where you have a lot of optionality, in the sense that you can make no money at all, but your gains on the other hand are completely uncapped.
I mean, you decide completely what money you make in the pocket at the end of the day, because it's completely, real estate Dubai is a complete commission-based complete commission-based job. So whatever you as a person bring as a value, exactly, what do you earn in the pocket?
So the question then becomes, and that's what attracted me, was that the level of control that you have, even within a very competitive context, to assume that the outcomes are completely the product of your efforts and your network and your exposure, sort of appealed to me a lot. Because, like I said, going back to the beginning of my storytelling, you couldn't get the unconventional results following a conventional path. I thought, well, whatever I'm doing right now as a salary earner, even at a startup, there is no road for it. The math just didn't check out. I couldn't become a millionaire within 2 years doing what I was doing. And if I could follow a job that had even a remote possibility of achieving this, then for me, it would have been silly not to take it. And so going back to that sales context of the scalability of your time invested versus the value you bring, and the value that you capture to yourself out of doing this, the commission, I realized that the best place to do it is the place that, context as a city, as a place where money moves the fastest, there's the most velocity. And within that, the industry that is moving the fastest. And so I computed it, and I realized that, yes, this reality show is actually right. If I'm going to go anywhere, even if I didn't have a sales background, I might as well shoot my shot. And so seeing that I already had that marketing background, that sales background, even knowing nothing about real estate, made it in my head that it was absolutely worth it to come. Yeah. And then there were a few cherries on top, as you know, which just made it seem even more obvious.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle to be a realtor, to work in real estate for sure. Okay, so you start coming to Dubai, you decide, okay, fly in, then you had some interviews. I remember even when we had our interview, that you said very transparently, hey Noah, I have also another company where I want to take a look at, and whatever, I will give you notice, I think same day or a day after. Or I gave you a day after, I think, the yes or something. The confirmation. So why did you choose Modern Living? How many companies you had interviews with? I don't know even.
Honestly, I applied to a bunch of companies. I just went on the computer and I looked up like top real estate companies in Dubai, and without any idea of how hard it was to break in or to get an interview, I just applied to a bunch of them with a cover letter. Most of them didn't reply, which was surprising because my assumption was that the barriers to entry were so low. Everyone told me that you could just get an interview. I realized now, knowing the names that I was applying to, that they can actually afford to be a little bit selective, which I understand, because once you're in the Dubai real estate market, you realize it's no joke. There was an agency, however, that is very large, very well respected, that did reply right away, and I went through the process, and I even came to their office, much as I came to this one. When I arrived late April, before I started on the 1st of May, as you know, and they seemed very good. They were very keen. They seemed very professional, but Modern Living, as you know, still won out, and I think there are a few reasons. Modern Living certainly offered things as a boutique luxury real estate agent that this larger, well-known name didn't offer. I think definitely the commission structure is very favorable. I think we have to talk about that you do get a little bit more than 50%, which is our base rate as an agent if you are bringing in your own leads.
Yeah, we have a different split for when you bring private leads. Maybe let's just don't talk about it in the podcast. When you're interested to come to our team, just come to us.
Yeah, I just wanted to tease it.
That's good though. Okay, yeah. And then
Gregor, as you know.
Yeah.
So
he's a good friend of yours.
He's a good friend of mine. We've known each other for almost 10 years now. We went to school together back in Wales. And it just, for me, it made the choice obvious. I mean, any competing agency would have, I don't know what they would have had to offer me, no matter how good their training program. I think I really believe in mentorship, especially when that person has a proven track record to be doing well. And that because of that relationship, they're going to be willing to invest in you and help you out. So knowing that I had someone at Modern Living who I knew and who I trusted and who was doing well, I mean, being here now, I have a lot more reasons to like it. But coming in with limited knowledge, it just made it the obvious choice for me.
Yeah. I mean, the training part is one of the biggest and most important thing what we have also in Modern Living. I would not say that we have it completely automated. I mean, we have a lot of videos which we have in the knowledge library. So when someone joins directly, they can watch a bundle of videos, and they will be on a flight length, which is quite good to start in the real estate market. Still, you need to do some practice for sure, 100%. But to just get the first step into the real estate market, we have a ton of videos internally for all the new freshers and for all the tools, so this is quite convenient for them.
Being here for almost 3 months now, I kind of like it like that. It was very experiential. I felt like I had the room to try different techniques, to try different strategies, to get feedback on them. And the greatest advantage is that I think with these very structured training programs, you don't get the freedom to experiment and to just go out into the field with supervision, so I like to think that on the long term, this sort of like anti-fragile process that we go through here in Modern Living is more beneficial, makes you a better agent.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, we talked about it a bit. Okay, sales, marketing, obviously this was your background. What do you think, what skill set should a real estate agent, when they start just in the real estate in the real estate market, what should they have, like, or what should they should be interested in proactively to be a successful realtor?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's not one profile, right? But I think
just like name me like 3-4 things, 5 things which are pretty important.
Yeah, just thinking of the successful real estate agents I know, they're definitely good listeners, and they're good at asking the right questions.
Okay.
I mean,
listening, good asking questions.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'd seen it in other sales contexts, and real estate is no different. I think based off of that listening and asking the questions, they're able to challenge the customer. So they're able to differentiate themselves from other agents by making the client think about what he wants or what he's looking for in perspectives that he hasn't thought of before. And so this means, coming in with new approaches and new insights to close the sale for the unit he's trying to sell, trying to understand what he's not telling you, trying to get him to commit his time, trying to make it worth it. I think I touched on it in the previous episode, trying to bring the conversation to a level where he's willing to invest his time, understand, to close what I call the mini sale on the way to the big sale, which is those small time commitments that get you closer to that. And with that comes persistence as well. So you will have, I think what I find most stressful as an agent, what I think probably a lot of other agents do as well, is not so much the being busy or the time management. It's those gaps where you have a client on your mind and that expectation, and fighting in your mind psychologically with this expectation, the waiting for him to get back, the thinking, should I call now or should I wait? Like, when is the right time to call? Should I not call at all? Should I wait for him? If I wait for him or for her, how long is she going to take to call me back? So I think, having
all these questions can be cleared on a very easy qualification which you make with the client at the beginning, and based on that you don't have these questions anymore in your mind. Like literally a good qualification at the beginning, understanding when the client wants to buy, understanding the timing points, understanding when the client is ready to view and do whatever, and which property is interesting for the client. It's pretty easy. Too many agents are making thinking way too much. Okay,
definitely. But I'll add to that, you can have a client that is qualified and still have periods of silence. And I think a lot of agents give up in those periods where you just have to be persistent, because your client is juggling so many things at the same time.
Depends always, right? I had sales I made, I knew that the person wanted to buy at a certain budget, so I knew I have them in my mind, in my CRM system, and I had a list of buyers which I can just contact when I have the right property for the right price. It wasn't variable. So I made a deal in 30 minutes, literally. There was a distressed unit came out from the system, from the developer. I had a very good friend of mine. He just said, "Hey Noah, the unit is free. Contact your buyer. I know they have someone." I just pulled out. He wrote the check. Then we sent the money over, got the confirmation, and in 20-30 minutes it was done. Like different, but also there are different cases. Like the buyer needs to think a lot, or the buyer is in some.
So those are the easy situations when you have the product at the ready, and you have a client who already knows what he wants, and he wants that product specifically.
Okay, you need to come to this level of you get clients which are familiar with Dubai. They know what's going on, and they know what product it is. There are different stages of knowledge bases where the client is coming from. Okay, beginning I don't know what Dubai is, then going through, and here's the close. Obviously, at the beginning also I had so many clients. I needed to explain what is Dubai, why Dubai, what are the rules here, what is going on. And these clients I have nowadays, they know everything. They know DLD, all the rules. They have many contacts, and the only reason we are interesting for them is because we have the product they cannot find, or we have the contacts from the sellers which they don't have. We solve the problem of getting actually the product, and they know everything. At the same day, they write checks for me. They know everything. They say no, 02 unit in this tower, deal closed. But there are different clients as well, starting from the beginning, like I just said. So there are different points you need to understand on which knowledge base is the client, and then just go closer to the close, right? Yes. So, okay, you've been now 3 months in the real estate market. And I know there have been some crazy stories. So, what was like, give me three situations with been like, okay, that's crazy, never had this in my life. This is experience. This is it's a good and crazy experience. Tell me something.
Gosh, yeah, I could start with the one that I told last week, but for the viewers and the listeners who tuned into the last episode, I might save that one for the end just because we're on the theme and I think it's such a juicy story. But I could talk about some of the frustrating moments that happen that end up being kind of funny at the same time. I had a viewing. This was a listing that I got here in Raptor City, Business Bay. And I actually got it through someone here at the company, not a real estate agent, but he had a friend who had that apartment fully furnished, very nice, 180K a year, 2 bedrooms, and he was looking to list it. And I said, okay, well, it's actually a good price for what it is. Like, we're going to rent it really quickly. And sure enough, the inquiries started coming in, and this got listed just after Eid. So as soon as I got back from Eid, I went to work, and I got this inquiry from a lady over break, and Monday we went to the tower in Raptor City, and she arrived, and she arrived with her future roommate, who was also a lady, 2 very made-up women from Colombia, arriving in a top of the line Mercedes, and definitely you can just sort of like tell what kind of business they're in. Something very image driven, when they arrive, right? You might say. I don't want to get too explicit. And we go upstairs, and Raptor City, for those who don't know, has 3 towers which are very similar to each other, right? So we go up to the floor, and we're arriving, and I opened the door, and I knew because I'd been in the apartment very recently, and we agreed with the owner that the apartment would be open for viewings. So I pull the handle, and the door doesn't open. And I'm thinking, to the point of what I was just saying, did I just take my clients to the wrong tower?
Yeah.
And I was just thinking like, oh, this is so strange. Let me call the owner's assistant, find out what's going on. And suddenly we hear footsteps coming from the inside. And the door unlocks and someone opens, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, this is just a real estate agent who was also doing viewing who decided to lock the door. And so I tell this lady, hi, we're here for a viewing too. And she says, what viewing? I live here. And in front of my 2 clients, and I am just feeling so embarrassed, wanting to explain, but having no clue myself what's going on, which I think as a real estate agent is the worst position you want to be, because you always want to reassure your client to give them clarity. And so I just apologized, and I told my clients, all right, let's go downstairs and call the owner to see what's going on. And I'm calling the owner's assistant. She doesn't pick up. She hangs up, immediately texts me, and I am sure she knew that she messed up somehow, because usually these things you tell the person beforehand. She said, oh, by the way, the day before yesterday, we rented the apartment for the month, short-term rental. And I was just thinking, oh my gosh. So you tell me you want to rent this long-term. You know that when you list, it goes to the top of the page, right? So the sooner the better. And just days after it's listing, you're going to throw it away by listing short-term rental. And she's, but obviously, I don't expect them to know this, but I also don't expect them to expect me to know when they rent short-term, because we can't just guess. So that was a pretty funny story. I tried to do everything to get these clients back. I was willing to work with other agents who had listings in Raptor City, but I think they, in the meantime, they must have found something, because eventually they just said, yeah, we found a unit. And so that was the end of the story. But hey, once the month comes to an end and the unit becomes available again for viewing, then I'm pretty confident we're gonna rent it out.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay.
What else? You got a crazy story? I know you do. Question is, what can we talk about?
Good question. This was also embarrassing, or it was like big time waste there, I would say. We've been to many developers. It was a German client. We've been to many developers. I'm show him like literally Dubai, and then it comes to an end where he's like, okay, I don't know when to pick, either off-plan or ready properties. We've been to beachfront. We've been to different developers. I showed him even secondary units, which is a bit more hard, I would say, because you need to contact the owners. And I showed him like 2 or 3 properties in different towers, in different locations, in different days, and so it took a lot of time. And then I dropped him over. Okay, do you know about this developer? Yeah, I've been there. Okay, do you know about this one? Yeah, I've been there already. I was like, with whom you've been there? Yeah, with this and this agent. I was like, okay, I thought you stick with me because we were running already 1.5 months together. He's like, no, and like bullshitting a bit. I was like, okay, I didn't kept him in the frame, I would say, and I've been very transparent and I say, hey, let's stick together. I'm spending the time with you and this and this and this. He said, yeah, okay, I understand your point of view and so ever. Then there was a launch from Imar. He was committed by it, off plan, to make the down payment, and literally he didn't make the down payment because there was one unit he wanted to have. And I booked the unit even for him, and then he said, no, the price is 50,000 dirham too high.
But when he put the EOI down,
no, it wasn't EOI. It was just I booked the unit for 3-4 hours or something by MR. There was 24 hours, yes, and he needed to make the down payment for 24 hours. But the price was like 50 or 70,000, 80,000 too high,
which, off of the total price of the unit, I imagine was like a very small difference.
Yeah, it was a 2-bedroom. I don't know how much it was. Well, literally it was a very good price when you think about it backwards and after 1-2 years.
Especially knowing how quickly they sell out at MR, consistently.
Like even I have very good contacts in MR. To get this unit was even very hard.
Wow.
To book the unit, and then at the end of the day, 1-2 weeks later, he said, okay, Noah, keep me updated. Whatever goes on. 3 weeks later, I said, hey, perfect, look, there's new this and this launch. Seems interesting. Like you said, when there's a new launch coming up, just contact me, what I did. Hey, Noah, yeah, I'm back in Germany. But no, I bought last week in Schoba a 3-bedroom, high floor, XYZ amount. And I was like, what the fuck?
More than the MR1, I take it.
Even more, yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure the decision didn't come down to price. It was about, certainly he didn't see the value in that MR1 for what it was.
That's
or his decision criteria changed.
Okay. The one thing was in Meydan, the other thing was in Dubai Hills Estate. But he didn't stick with me. I didn't kept him in the frame, and I don't know. I even dropped him some projects in Shoba or in general in Meydan, where he said, okay, that's interesting, whatever, and then he went straight to Shoba and bought by himself.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, as an agent investing your time with a client, you never know. You don't have exclusivity with your client, and that's a hard thing to expect.
You can sign the Form B. It's fine, but look,
even the client can have multiple Form Bs with different agents at the end of the day.
No, when you sign one exclusivity and you put in that this agent is my exclusive agent for XYZ time, and I'm only buying through him in the secondary and primary market, you can stick with him. That's normally the rule.
The question is, I wonder what these
doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense to have these contracts, because at the end of the day, when you have one agent, you're committing with him. You have a buyer who likes you as a person. You give a value. You have trust with him. I have buyers. They only buy with me, and they have so many contacts. Even this launch I told you 30 minutes. He had so many contacts, and always when there's a new launch, I am sending him also the launch, but sometimes he's making some investigations, or he's just watching around where is the new launch. He drops me the brochure. Hey, no, is this good? Does it look good? Okay, perfect. Let's go to the sales center. And he bought through me because I have such a good relation with him. It's always the factor how close are you with the buyer, and what value do you bring to the buyer.
And how close are the other agents with the buyer? Because you never have a line of sight into that. Like I could be trying my best to advise a client, to explain to him how he can inform himself in the decision process, and now how I can help him achieve that. And in the meantime, you think, like I was telling you this at the sales meeting with this particular client I have, they come to you for apples, and suddenly the next day they're coming to you for oranges. I mean, I don't want to name projects by name, but they came for a very high quality project with a certain budget, and suddenly they're asking me about making smaller investments in different projects at the same time, but with projects of completely different quality standard.
And amount as well.
Amount as well.
Okay, I think this was quite good and quite good view of your beginning, I would say, in the first 3 months. So you experience a lot, and I hope you're happy with modern living.
I am very happy.
Very good.
I'm feeling a lot more confident now than I was feeling,
at the beginning. I remember
at the beginning.
I remember where we sat even 2 hours in the meeting room, and I explained some stuff and training and here and there. And now you're pretty comfortable going out to the market and beat the sharks, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I feel empowered is the most important. I mean, I think the worst position you can be in is feel clueless or like an imposter, and I think anyone and I don't think it's just my sales background. I really think anyone who commits himself and who exposes himself to the clients, be they sellers or buyers and people with experience, and goes to these launches, will just soak up the environment. And next thing they know, I mean, I had this realization this morning. I mean, as I was like preparing contracts and doing research, I was thinking, I'm doing this so quickly, so efficiently, so comfortably. I would have never known to do this technique or this thing I'm doing right now 3 months ago. And closes aside, that just gives me so much confidence. I mean, I feel great, and so I'm not worried one bit. I feel like there's great things on the horizon for everyone here.
You passed the test.
I did.
So congrats in the podcast.
Thank you very much. It was a great feeling.
So you're an official broker after a certain time.
Yep. Card carrying.
You learned. You did everything. You did the test and you passed.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I would say when you're interested to be a real estate agent, apply for Modern Living.
Yep. They've got the seal of approval.
Yeah, just contact us. I mean, we will mention for sure your email or something here at the podcast at the end. I would say thank you so much, Salvador, for having you.
My pleasure.
Yeah, also nice location. Today we're here in our office as well. This is our office. We are at our coffee bar, very, very casual at the sunset and having a sip of coffee. And thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And we will see each other in the next podcast. Bye-bye.